Hi, this is Claudia. Bob's behind the camera. Today is June 1st, and today we're going to look into hive number 1 at the Easton apiary. Our goals today are to check for mites. We haven't done it yet. This hive has been established for about 6 weeks, and this will be the first mite check. After this, we'll do one every 4 weeks. We'll also be doing our standard inspections for brood, general population, and temperament, and of course to fill up the feeder on this first year hive. Alright, we have a bee who's interested in sitting on the top lid. Now we'll check the feeder. We've had a few days of rain and cold. There's still a little syrup in there, but it's pretty dry. A lot of bees in the dome. Oh my goodness, and lots of ants on the side there. The hive, it smells a little funny, like a little fermented. So we'll check this out later. And I want to make sure there's no burr comb that's going to make this difficult to remove. Looks good. A lot of bees on the bottom. Last week we put this third box on, so we'll see how much they've drawn on the frames, but there are no hive beetles. So we'll set that aside. We don't want to spill it. And most of the frames have bees on them. That's a good sign. So the population is growing. This is a hive without much propolis deposit. So it's still fairly easy to pull these frames out. This is frame number 2. It's very light. And it's drawn. So you can see the bees have made nice honeycomb in here. There's a few drones in here. And do you have that? I don't see much in the cells. And then on my side, there's some nectar here on my left. But for the most part, they're still working this frame. All right, we'll put this aside. The third frame is built up too. But let's get into the center, where we expect to see the most action. The queen typically works from the center of the hive box to outwards. And if we're going to see any brood, we'll see it in the middle 2 frames before we see it elsewhere. So this frame 2 is drawn out nicely. Not much in there. That's the inner side. The outer side of the frame is worked to about the same amount. There are a few little black ants running around in here. The 5th frame is about the same as the 4th. I'm not going to take it out, we'll just move it aside. And yeah. So all these frames are drawn, I think. Let's pull this last one out. Alright, so this is the 8th frame. It's worked a little bit, so that's good. All these frames are worked. There's a big drone. Moving around. But no brood here in box 3. So we'll tighten this up, take it off, and take a look in box 2. Here's something that we don't see in our suburban backyard beehive. On the telescoping cover that I just put down a couple minutes ago, there is now an evil-looking spider carrying off a dead bee. So here we have some natural scavenging. I will make sure to take that spider out before I put the bees back in place. I might even do it now. We're looking at the top of box 2. There's a nice number of bees across the frames, and the sides of the frames seem to be covered. We're going to look for brood frames that we can use to sample bees for our first mite check here. There's a few ants, the little black ones that we saw in the feeder box. Not too many. I'll pull this out. So this side we've got, looks like nectar in here and pollen. You see the orange. Oh, there's the queen. Right? Right at the bottom. Right there.
All right.
That huge bee right there.
Is that her?
Yeah.
It looks like her.
It's the queen.
I'll put her back in.
Well, here, did you shoot her? It's not a drone, is it?
I don't think so.
Might be. I don't know.
No, it's not fuzzy.
No. All right, the queen's on here. We're going to put this back. I was going to hang that frame on the outside.
Not now.
And I sure want to be careful I don't roll her, as they say. Alright, I'm going to leave this side of the hive alone. I want that queen to get settled. The one thing you don't want to do when you're doing a mite check is to grab the queen. So this frame, I can tell from the top, has some capped sugar syrup on it. You can see it sticking out from the edge of the frame itself. And you would expect to see capped honey. Oh, this is heavy.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that.
Or sugar syrup. All right, so yeah, this is a really heavy frame. Probably weighs a good 4 pounds, maybe 3. Anyway, we've got honey. There's a gash there in the wax, which is no big deal. The bees are gonna, we'll fix that. They'll cap that over. And then on the inside, you can see the upper half is capped. Okay, this is practically all brood, so I think we'll use this frame. And it's not likely that we're going to see the queen on a frame that's mostly full of brood already. So that's another way that we can be more certain that we're not sampling the queen to do a mite check. All right, and then the inner side, again, it's just about all brood. This is nice. So Bob, let's use this frame. We're going to brush it off into a large white bucket. I've put a little granulated sugar, like 1/4 teaspoon or a teaspoon on the bottom, just to give the bees an interest in staying down in the bucket when I open it up. I'm looking again to make sure the queen's not here. This queen, we don't think was marked. There's some good-sized drones on the frame. All right. So there's a couple different ways to get the bees off the frame. One is to do a shake, a quick jerky shake, You don't hit the frame onto the ground or anything, you just jolt it.
Into the bucket.
Into the bucket. So this is a food grade 5-gallon plastic bucket. You can buy one or you can get them for free at grocery stores that have bakeries. Icing comes in them. The other way is to brush them off, and we're going to probably do a combination of both. After we shake and get the bees off this frame, we'll put the lid on real quick, and then I will use a cup and scoop out as many bees as I can. The ideal sample size is 300, but anywhere between 200 and 300 is sufficient. But you just have to count and see how many bees you actually sampled. All right, so
okay.
Alright, so the lid is on. I'm going to put this back where it was. Now we're ready to do the actual mite check. The bees are in the bucket. There's a screw top lid. And this is the shaker jar that we're going to use. Inside is 70% rubbing alcohol. You can use 50%. You can use windshield washer fluid, whatever you have on hand. And inside this is a perforated basket, like a coffee grinder basket. And what I'll do is use the yellow cap for this, scoop in here, get like a handful of bees, quickly put it in the basket, and then very quickly put the yellow lid back on. Once that's in place, as soon as the bees touch the rubbing alcohol, they will die. You want to make sure the lid is on securely, and then you vigorously shake for, I think it's 2 renditions of Happy Birthday. I will not sing. I will sing in my head. So the hard part here is to get the bees in the cup before they fly out. I started using sugar and some essential oil in here. It keeps the bees a little calmer, and it makes it easier for me to get this done quickly. Alright, so before I open the lid, I am going to give it again a downward shake to get as many of the bees down below as I can, and then take the lid off. And you can see, just with a little sugar in there, they're hanging in the bottom. So I'm gonna, oh no, that's not good. Bees in the cup here. And the lid is on tight. I'm also going to be careful and hold it with both hands and shake.
The instructions say for 1 minute.
Okay. That's a long time.
But it says gentle, so as not to foam it.
Oh, well.
And I was reading the instructions.
So I should be gentle?
A gentle shake. It doesn't have to be vigorous.
Well, when he says vigorous.
Well, I'm just telling you what the instructions said.
All right. Everybody should be a married beekeeper. As if the bee stings weren't enough. So now there's bees all over the camera. Notice we're still wearing our veils.
All right, we're hoping that we don't see any in here.
Right. So before I even take the lid off, even though all the bees are dead now from the alcohol, oh nice, I'm looking on the bottom, hooray. And you can tell from my happy cries that I don't see any mites. So when you look at the mites from the bottom, they are small, flattish, roundish, like reddish brownish discs. There's weird stuff. You're going to have bee legs in there, or maybe some ants, that those tiny black ants would have gotten in. But the mites themselves are pretty unique in their appearance. So I see a triangular shaped piece of debris and something that looks like a gnat. Bob, take a look. There was a bee on the yellow.
We don't see any. There's none in there.
And this is great. You would hope that your bees, especially from a package like this hive is, would still be mite-free. at this point in the season. Treating with mites is important if you have a critical level, but it also interferes with reproduction. And so if you don't have to treat, that's a great day.
So the limit is 3 mites per 100. So at this point, we don't have any, so we're not going to have to treat.
And we don't have to count the bees. If there were mites in here, I would count to make sure that the ratio was under 3 or at 3 per 100. So what we want to do now to wrap up this inspection of the hive is to go back, clean out the feeder. It smelled like the syrup had fermented a little, and there were a lot of little black ants in the base again. So we're going to knock those out, put fresh syrup in, and then call it a day. All right, thanks for watching. If you have questions about how to test or treat for mites, get in touch with us. Thanks.